So, what brings you to visit lonely old one Samdi?
Yo guys, what's going on? It's your boy Big Arc back with another WoW video. Today I am on my monk with his cool sea monster transmog. As I'm going in depth on a Brewmaster monk guide, I will be telling you all the specifics about how to tank your rotation, how to keep yourself alive, and other cool Brewmaster things that you may not have known about. So before we get into it though, I do want to thank everyone that has shown all the love recently. If you don't know what we're doing around here, we did a WoW token giveaway at 250 and 500 and 1,000 subs. We just passed 500 subs because at the time of recording this, we are now at 530 subs. I want to thank every single one of you that has subscribed lately, liked the videos, interacted with me in the comments. All this really means a lot. I'm just trying to make a couple videos during school, and yeah, it's amazing to talk to all those people, and I love it. So if you haven't gotten the hint already, we are doing another giveaway for another WoW token at 1,000 subs. That'd be pretty crazy if we can hit that before the new year. That is a new goal. We still got a little bit of time, and all you have to do is be subscribed to the channel. And if you like the videos and hit the bell button just so you know when I post. We are doing a little bit differently around here with the channel. As you can see, I do have an intro now, a little soft-spoken one, but still an intro. You'll see this video is a little bit different than the other class guides that I've posted too. You can go check them out. I have a whole playlist on my channel, but basically we're going to be breaking it up into certain segments, and I will be going in depth in those segments rather than one whole continuous chunk. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, first things first, something I want to get into is just to talk about the monk in general. So if you've ever come against a monk in PvP or you've just fought with one in PvE, one thing you totally associate monks with is the mobility factor. So they have a roll, and they have the ability to get Tiger's Lust or Chi Torpedo basically from their talents, and they also have Transcendence. So if you don't know what those are, roll is just kind of like a short burst like this, and then Chi Torpedo is the same thing. Tiger's Lust basically looks like this, so it's just a dispel on all of your snares and just a movement speed increase. And then you also have Transcendence, so that allows you to basically act like a warlock with your demonic circle, and you know, put a mirror image here, and say you teleport over here but you have to get back over to that image, you can just teleport back over there using your Transcendence. I just don't have it on my bars right now, that's why I'm not showcasing it, but believe me, it does exist. Another great thing about monks in general, or pardon me, not in general, specifically as we head into the Brewmaster specialization of the monks, is their guaranteed damage intake, which is super smooth if I might add, called Stagger. So compared to any other class specialization in World of Warcraft, you take damage immediately head on, while the Stagger ability with Brewmaster monks just allows you to absorb that damage over a period of time. So it's super smooth when you come up with healers. They know that you're going to be taking damage, and it really helps you become protected when you know you're going to be hit with big damage abilities. You have a couple potions that basically mitigate how much stagger you have. We'll get more into that when we get into the rotation aspect, but that's basically all you need to know about the tanking bonus of a Brewmaster monk. So they also have a lot of unique abilities which help you move around your enemies and move around your aggro. So the main thing I want to get into is Clash, basically like a warrior's charge, but you just meet halfway with a target. It's basically rushes you towards the target, you're the first person to touch it, so you get that aggro and you're just able to hold it better. You have Summon Black Ox Statue, which we'll get into in the rotation, which basically allows threat to be pulled towards it. Super nice, super easy. And then another bonus of monks in general, now that we're past the specifics, is basically the crowd control and the CC's abilities that they have. So you can talent spec it, but there is Ring of Peace, which is super good for keeping enemies at a distance. We'll get into that again as well. But then you also just have Leg Sweep and Paralysis, so very good CC capabilities for a tank, and yeah, it's super duper nice. It's very forgiving when you're playing a Brewmaster monk simply because of the stagger ability. If you take a whole lot of damage, stand where you're not supposed to, you're not going to be hit instantly with that damage. You're just going to get it over time. It's still going to hurt, don't get me wrong, but you're just going to get it over time rather than all at once, which is a lot easier for healers in my perspective. There is a couple weaknesses though with the Brewmaster monk, and that is out of every single tank in the game, they have the lowest amount of base health. This is pretty much a result of being more vulnerable to the damage over time effects. You know you're not going to be hit super hard, so you don't need that huge protection of a large health pool. So basically the damage over time allows you to have a lower amount of health and still be able to tank. They don't really have a whole lot of self-sustaining besides your self-harm, your expel harm and your heal that you have, either chi wave or chi burst depending on what you choose. They have a whole lot of buttons, which is my personal downfall with this. There's a lot of keybinds. I play with an MMO mouse, so it has 17 buttons, and still when I try to keep my UI clean with it, it's really hard to prioritize what buttons I'm going to be using the most, because there's just so many to choose from for many different situations. And overall, compared to other tanks, it just has a lower damage output. This is just because a lot of the Brewmaster Monk abilities are just based on keeping aggro and mitigating your stagger. So they have the base attacks where it's like your AoEs, your single target, your ranged, and just a whole lot of healing and stagger mitigation. So there's not a whole lot of DPS coming out of the Brewmaster Monks. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Brewmaster Monk in general. Alright, so next thing I want to get into is the gear and the stats you want to look for as a Brewmaster Monk. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of it though, I just want to mention the mastery that the Brewmaster Monk has. It is called Elusive Brawler, and you can see by the tooltip, basically every time you're hit by a melee attack or hit with another Monk's Blackout Kick, you gain a 15% increased dodge chance until your next dodge, and it also increases your attack power by 15.2%. The attack power is a super big thing for any DPS or raid or dungeon fight. Basically that's going to help you keep your aggro, help you keep the mobs on you instead of spreading to your other group members, while the dodge is really good if you're basically tanking a boss and you get hit by a melee attack or whatever it does, and you basically have a 15% chance to dodge stacking until you actually do another dodge. So pretty good, basically like you miss an attack every 6 times it hits you, so that's a pretty good rate. I know I already went over stagger, but I do want to go over shuffle. So it's another passive that you have. You're allowed to shuffle during your combat, so your stagger is increased by 100%. And basically anytime you use your AoE kicks or your main blackout kick damage dealer, which we will get into in the rotation, or your kick smash, you basically get this. So it's really, really good. It increases your stagger effectiveness by 100%, so more damage gets mitigated and just a whole lot easier for the healers. What we want to get into is the stats now. One thing I've noticed as a Brewmaster Monk is you want to prioritize item level above everything else. So agility and stamina are probably your most valuable assets, and haste is just something that you should avoid whenever possible. So if you have haste on a piece of gear, don't be afraid to drop your item levels to do so, just because you want to prioritize not having haste. Pretty much versatility, mastery, and critical strike are all equal, and they're all above haste. So don't even give a fuck about haste. Just worry about your agility and stamina, which you get on all your gears, and then you have your versatility, mastery, and critical strike in no particular order. They're super fine however they come. And basically another thing you want to consider with your stats is how your racials play into it. I know I've said this in every other single monk video that I've talked about. I am a Maghar Orc, so I have where is it here? I have Ancestral Call, so that's my passive. I get a random secondary stat for 15 seconds every time I click it. So right now you can see my versatility is increased, and basically your racial plays a big factor in how your class is going to play. You can see online that there are a lot of builds that basically increase your range damage, your resistance to certain types of spells, like profession perks, stuff like that. I would just take a look at all the racials that monks can possibly be and just kind of take your pick. Personally, I would recommend Maghar Orc for Ancestral Call, or Trolls for the increased haste. The Berserker Rage that they have, or whatever it's called, for their passive ability is really nice. But otherwise, that is pretty much what you want to look for in your stats and just your race that you want to play. Alright, so we are now back near the training dummies, so you know what that means. But before we go into the rotation, I just want to go over the talents, because this will make explaining the rotation a whole lot easier. So there's going to be 2 different builds. They're recommended just for different kind of content you're going to be facing, whether it be kind of like single target raid encounters or Mythic Plus. We're going to start with the raid encounters though. This is what I like to rock with. So you have Eye of the Tiger, which is basically a damage over time ability that you put on a target when you ever use Tiger Palm. It's basically for one target, so it's basically the guy that you're tanking that you're going to use it on. And it also heals you as well, so it's really good in that sense. You can use either Chi Wave if you want as your secondary. I don't know, I just find Eye of the Tiger is way better than Chi Wave. It's really good if you're doing AoE, but if you're doing AoE, Chi Burst is a whole lot better for Mythic Plus. We'll get into the Mythic Plus build exactly after that. So for single target, Eye of the Tiger, pardon me, is always going to be your first choice, and then Chi Wave is your second choice to your Chi Burst and AoE content. So just remember that. That's for your 15 level bracket. For your 25 level bracket, this is just basically how you want your monk to move. So you have Celerity, Chi Torpedo, and Tiger's Lust to choose from. As a Brewmaster, you're always going to want to pick Tiger's Lust. So as a tank, you're always vulnerable to get stunned, and you're always vulnerable to be in these shitty positions. Basically, Tiger's Lust, as you can see by the tooltip, increases your movement speed by 70% for 6 seconds and removes all your roots and snares. So if you're caught in a raid mechanic where you are not able to move and you know you're going to be soaking a whole lot of damage, it's good that you are a monk because you have your stagger to fall back on, but also just to get away from that, boom, pop Tiger's Lust, roll your mobility, and you're just far away from that scene if you have to be. So you can also choose Chi Torpedo. It depends on what kind of content you are doing. If you're trying to move around a whole lot quicker, this basically gives you a movement speed increase after you do your Chi Torpedo, which replaces roll. So basically you can stack it. So it stacks for 10 seconds each, stacks 2 times. So you can, if you do it right and you hit it your second time after your first Chi Torpedo, you can get 60% movement speed for 10 seconds, which is really, really nice. Basically, like, saves time for mounting up. This is really good for if you're questing or something like that. Celerity is just an extra roll. Don't really worry about it. So yeah, for your 30 level bracket, don't worry about Black Ox Brew or Spitfire. What you're going to want to pick is Light Brewing, so it reduces the cooldown of your Purifying Brew and Celestial Brew by 20%, which we will get into in the rotation. Spitfire is okay, just resets your Breath of Fire every time you do your melee attack Tiger Palm, and Black Ox Brew basically instantly refills energy, all your brew charges, and it's okay if you find you're using a lot more brews and you're tanking a bigger amount of mobs, or just you have a shit ton of stagger in general. But honestly, just keep light brewing if you feel like you can mitigate that damage. This is for just single target and Mythic Plus as well. For single target, you're going to want to pick Summon Black Ox Statue for your 35 level bracket. Basically, it puts a statue up and it attracts all threats to there within 20 yards. So you just cast Provoke on it, all the enemies go over there. Really nice if you're trying to move a couple mobs away from where they're supposed to be. Pop the statue down, use Provoke, and they're heading over there. By the time you roll, or Tiger's Lust, or Chi Torpedo, or whatever you decide to pick for your mobility, by the time you use your mobility ability to get over there, you will be able to take aggro again, and it's all good. So really good at moving mobs if you have to, or even just pulling. If you know, like, you have to hide behind a corner in an instance, just put the statue down and, you know, cast Provoke, and then they'll eventually come to you after the statue expires, or you expire it, and you just surround the corner and the whole room is pulled, and you can just AoE all the mobs down that you need. But what I would recommend for Mythic Plus is Ring of Peace. So if you saw any of my other monk videos, you can go check them out on my channel. But Ring of Peace basically puts a circle around you and no enemies can enter it for 5 seconds. So really good if you find there's a lot of like pesky mobs trying to get towards you. Just put it down and you'll be safe for a little bit. More of a defensive ability, I would say, rather than Summon Black Ox Statue. This is just more to secure your aggro on mobs, which is a-okay. So the 40 level bracket is basically between Healing Elixir and Dampen Harm. You're going to want to use Dampen Harm because it's basically a shield. It gives you 20 to 50%, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. 20-50% of your damage is reduced for 10 seconds. Larger attacks being reduced more. This helps play in really well with your stagger because you're already taking that damage that is reduced over time, so you're not even going to feel it that much. This is just a really good shield. I would keep this up when you're you know you're going to be taking a whole lot of big hits, so just keep that up and they'll reduce the damage that you take overall. Really good for single target encounters, but if you're doing AoE encounters like Mythic Plus or BGs or whatever, just pick Healing Elixir. I know I said this in my Monk video, a whole lot of people don't pick it, but it's really good for just that off heal that you give yourself. I mean, monks don't have a whole lot, pardon me, Brewmaster monks don't have a whole lot of healing in general besides Expel Harm and whatever they get from their damage over time effect from Eye of the Tiger. So if you really find that you need to heal yourself, get Healing Elixir. You'll thank me later, trust me. This is really good for the AoE situations. I'm just going to add that in again. 45 level bracket, you can choose between these three here. I would always pick Rushing Jade Wind, just because it's really good at getting aggro and just kind of keeping aggro once you have it. Really good at showcasing what it can do with I'll just show it right here instead of waiting for the rotation. Basically we'll pull in all mobs, all aggro, just a really good AoE ability that you have. You can use it whenever your Keg Smash or your Breath of Fire is on cooldown. It's a talent, doesn't cost any chi or anything or whatever, so you're a-okay to pick that. I wouldn't even consider doing the other ones. Whatever content you're going to be facing, this is just kind of the meta talent for this tier. Same thing with high tolerance for the 50 tier. So stagger is a big thing with your with your Brewmaster monk class and ability. So basically increasing your stagger is what you're going to want to do to basically improve your tanking. So stagger is 5% more effective at delaying damage, and you gain up to 15% haste based on your current level of stagger. Haste is okay if you really need it. It's just like bonus. You don't want to have your gear having haste, but if you get haste off a buff, then that's okay. This basically increases your stagger, which is what you really want. I would either go for Blackout Combo too, which is a passive ability. Depends on what you really feel like, what you think you're going to be doing. If you're doing a lot more DPS rather than just holding aggro, I pick Blackout Combo. So basically, it's kind of like the Thunder Focus T for Mistweaver monks. So it empowers your next ability, Tiger Palm being 100% increased damage, Breath of Fire cooldown reduced by 3 seconds, and then Keg Smash reduces the cooldown on your brews by 2 seconds, and Celestial Brew pauses your stagger for 3 seconds. So whole lot to choose from depending on what you want to do. I would always just personally pick high tolerance, just because no matter what content you're facing, and if you're new, this is just really good for increasing your stagger and just helping you keep mobs on you, and it's a lot more forgiving. I said earlier that aspect of having the forgiveness in a Brewmaster monk is really nice. If you mess up on your potions, or you're not doing enough DPS, or you're going down on health really fast, even though you have stagger, it shouldn't be super duper fast. This is just really good at delaying your damage a whole lot more, so just helps you on the more forgiving side. This is pretty much it for the talents, and I will see you in the rotation. Alright guys, we are now at the rotation part of the video. So the order that I kind of want to go in is basically your basic damage abilities that you have, your self heals that you have, and your stuns, and basically crowd control. So we're going to get into it by basically just attacking these 3 target dummies. I'm going to put Tiger Palm, and you can see that it applies the bleed as well, Eye of the Tiger. So this is basically just a single target, doesn't cost any chi or any mana because Brewmasters don't have that. Really good. You can see I threw a Blackout Kick there, 4-second cooldown. Just another melee ability that you have for single target. What I'm going to use next is Keg Smash, so that's the AoE ability that you have. Really good there. Basically, while you use Keg Smash, your targets are going to be equipped with this debuff. That's when you're going to want to use Breath of Fire. So that's going to put a bleed on after. So you're going to want to use that in order. You don't really want to use Breath of Fire without using the Keg Smash first. This is just going to allow you to get that extra damage over time ability, since, you know, monks are already pretty low on it in the first place. You can see it's ticking away over here. You have your AoE ability called Spinning Crane Kick. So not too bad. The good bonus with it is you can use that as the same time as your Rushing Jade Wind. So it's kind of like 2 spinning crane kicks that you have to basically do your AoE damage, which is super duper nice. I can't get into it up here because the target's health isn't low enough, but Touch of Death is basically like the monk's execute. I said that in my last couple videos that I did on my monk. Basically, you have to be they have to be lower lower health, basically like a shadow word death or execute type style, and it's just a big damage dealing thing. 3-minute cooldown, so not too bad. That's pretty much it for your main attacking abilities. You also have Crackling Jade Lightning, which is your distance basically toggle, so this is how you can pull mobs, get aggro, whatever you need to. It's very expensive though, so I wouldn't really recommend using that a whole lot. And yeah, from there I'm going to get into the main tanking defensives that you have, which basically mitigate your stagger and just help you keep aggro and just, you know, keep yourself alive. So earlier you noticed that there are brews that Brewmasters have. There are 2 main brews. There's Celestial Brew here. So Swig of Strong Brew that coalesces basically gives you a shield. I don't need to read that whole tooltip. And Purifying Stagger Damage increases absorption by up to 200%. So basically it gets rid of a bit of stagger, gives you a shield, 45-second cooldown. From there you also have Purifying Brew, so clears 50% of your damage delayed with stagger and increases the absorption of your next Celestial Brew by up to 200% based on your current level of stagger. And you have 2 charges of this. I don't have any stagger, so I can't use it at the moment, but you get the gist of it. They go hand in hand, so depending on what you want more, you're going to use the other first. If you want to basically increase your shield by 200%, you're going to want to use your Purifying Brew first, and then use your Celestial Brew. This just gives you a bigger shield and eliminates a bit of stagger beforehand before you use that shield. So really good. You have your pet ability. Every single monk spec has it. It is Nizao the Black Ox. So basically it does like AoE stuns and does damage to targets that you've recently purified from your stagger. So if you know any of the other monk specializations, Mistweaver had Chi-Ji the Red Crane, or you can sub it out for Yulon if you don't talent spec it, and Windwalker had Zwen the White Tiger. So really good, just kind of does AoE damage plus whatever stagger you release. I think it does a percentage of that. Yeah, it does 25% of the stagger damage. And then while active, you get your stagger delayed by 25%. Pardon me, 25% of your damage is delayed whenever he's up. So really good. You have your Dampen Harm. We already went over that. That's your shield. So whenever you get big attacks, you want to use this. Reduces by 20% to 50%. So really good. Obviously bigger attacks are reduced more. You have your Fortifying Brew. So like I said last time, it was the 15-15-15, but it just changed for Brewmaster. So it's still 15 seconds, but you get a 20% health increase, reduce your damage taken by 20%, and the effectiveness of your stagger is increased by 10%. So when you have this combined with your Talent of High Tolerance, basically a 15% increased stagger, and if you can keep your potions up in the right order, you can basically drop stagger a whole lot. Basically, yeah, if you get a whole bunch of stagger, you can clear half of it instantly, put on a big shield, clear the other half like you never took any damage in the first place. Really nice. But say you are getting just absolutely bashed with a whole bunch of abilities, you have Zen Meditation. So you can use it. It's kind of like your Dispersion. You can't use any other abilities while you use it, otherwise it cancels it. But basically reduces all the incoming attacks by 60% for 8 seconds. So that's pretty much it for your healing part of it, what you want to keep in touch. This is your statue that I mentioned earlier. Since now that we're getting into these stuns, you can see it has a 15-minute cooldown, but if I casted Provoke on it, so you can see here, it would have attracted the aggro of these 2 training dummies. So really nice in that sense. If you're just trying to move mobs, you can obviously just place it at a different area, cast it again, and yeah, mobs will move to that area, which is really nice, especially if you have to move mobs out of a soaking ability. So really cool there. Besides that, you have your Spear Hand Strike, which is your interrupt. So anytime a target is casting something, use that. That's like your kick. Sweeping leg kick, leg sweep. Basically, this is what it looks like. Stuns all targets in AoE distance for 3 seconds, so not too bad. You can talent spec it. I wouldn't recommend it. Just increases the range and the cooldown. We already went over talent, so don't even worry about that. Then you have your paralysis. You can put this for 1 minute on a non-player target, but I think it's like kind of the equivalent time of a polymorph for any PvP target, so that's okay in that sense for stun. Otherwise, you have your Provoke, which is basically what gets the target to attack you. It moves towards you at increased speed too, so you don't have to worry about other people stealing aggro on that time, which is really, really nice. So yeah, this is pretty much it for your basic rotation. What you're going to want to do is just, keep damage on the target, shuffling your main damage abilities as much as possible, but always use Keg Smash before Breath of Fire because you want that damage over time ability. You're going to want to stack the Jade Wind and the Spinning Crane Kick for your AoEs, because that'll always just, keep you with both AoE abilities up at the same time, especially when you can get a good combination where it's Keg Smash, Fire Breath, Rushing Jade Wind, and then Spinning Crane Kick. You're doing a whole lot of DPS there, which is really, really nice for a tank. So yeah, keep that in mind for your basic rotation there. For your healing, if you need to get rid of more of your stagger, you use Purifying Brew, and then if you have to, use Celestial Brew. So basically clears your stagger and gives you a double shield when you use that. If you don't do Purifying Brew first, your Celestial Brew is just your normal amount, so keep that in mind. It's honestly really important to do basically in my Q before Alt F. Those are my keybinds, so do Purifying over Celestial. That'll maximize the amount of healing that you get, the stagger that gets taken off, and the absorption shield that you do get. So those are the main healing abilities that you want to go through. Just for a quick recap, basically once you're in fights, you'll see how often you want to shed it with the cooldown. It only has a 15-second recharge, so it's really easy to just keep stagger off of you, and honestly really fun to tank with because you don't have to worry about big damage coming in. But that has been it for the rotation. We're just going to get into the covenants next and then kind of wrap everything up from there. Alright guys, now we are in the covenant sector of the guide. So this is one of the last things that we talk about, pretty much the last thing that we talk about. And for Brewmaster Monks, it is a super duper easy choice, at least for patch 9.0.2. You're going to want to pick Kyrian as your covenant. You get Weapons of Order as your class ability. So the tooltip reads, next 30 seconds your mastery is increased by 10%. Basically, we're going to go over the mastery again that we talked about earlier. So your attack power is increased even more, and your dodge increases, or your dodge chances increase even more as well. So that's increased by 15%. And your Keg Smash cooldown is reset instantly, and basically anyone that's hit by Keg Smash gets increased damage taken towards them. So it is 8% increased damage that the tooltip says, and it stacks up to 4 times. So 32% damage increase potentially on all of your targets. I mean, Weapons of Order is a long cast, it's 35 seconds. So, they're taking increased damage here, plus the Breath of Fire ability. You can see it lasts for 4 seconds, so you can stack it again, reset it. You can easily get 4 stacks, which is a 30% damage increase on all of them there. So that's definitely what you're going to want to pick for your Covenant as a Brewmaster Monk. From there, your best soulbind is definitely Pelagos. It's just useful for like your baseline and just kind of the best in every single situation. I wouldn't even think about doing any other ones, just focus on this one and you should be a-okay. So pretty simple, but that is it for the Covenants. Obviously the Kyrian has a pretty cool transmog too, so that's another bonus of picking Kyrian. And yeah, we're just going to head into the final wrap-up. Alright guys, so we are now in the last part of the video, basically a little recap and a thank you note from me. We just went over the Brewmaster Monk guide, so a lot of single target damage abilities, your self-healing abilities, and your damage mitigation abilities. What's different about the Brewmaster Monk compared to other tanking classes, and the best Covenant to go for and the best talents to choose from. We talked about all that, so if you miss any of that, you can go back and scroll through the video. I'm still learning how to do timestamps, so maybe in the next video I will have a timestamp up, which would be really cool. This is also the thank you part of the guide, so I do want to thank every single one of you that's subscribed lately. We just did the second WoW token giveaway. Again, congrats to the winner in the beginning of the video. But now we are doing another giveaway at 1,000 subs, so we are oh so close. If we get there by 2021, that would be super dope, super amazing. And yeah, I would love to be making more content for you. I have some PvP content I've been thinking about dropping. If you guys are interested, let me know. I do have a lot of fun making it, so it'd be really cool to upload it as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you do like the video, go ahead and give it a like. Have a chat with me in the comments. I respond to almost every comment. And yeah, basically be sure to subscribe to be entered for the giveaway, and I will see you next time. It's been your boy Big Arc. Happy holidays. Peace.